This past weekend, there was one official piece of Deadlock news that I think fell under the radar for a lot of people, and two really interesting leaks that actually all kind of work together to suggest that Deadlock's open beta or maybe even full release might not be that far away. Hey everyone, this is Connor here at Dead Unlocked, and I've talked about the game's open beta a lot on this channel, so even if this isn't necessarily indicative of that, it's at least a good attempt to answer what is next for the game, especially if some of these leaks are true. So let's get right into it. We'll start off with the kind of more official part of the news, and this is something that actually happened over the weekend affecting Deadlock's API. And so I'm speaking a little bit out of turn here. I'm not a developer, and I don't understand maybe the nuance of how Deadlock's game code works, but I do know that in Deadlock's API, the word kind of playtest was used to designate users, or it's like dev playtest status or something like that. And that was effectively removed over the weekend, along with some other things like some delays and, again, just the way players are designated in game. I'm already like speaking over my head on this, but I saw Deadlock UA post about this, Deadlock Intel post, and wanted to make sure I shared it here. And this actually also affected me in another line of work I do over at edl.gg. I'm the editor over there, and we have a play feature that you can kind of queue into games and whatnot. And this happened right before that, which caused, the way we report on matches and whatnot to be affected. So I know this affected StatLocker as well. So this is interesting. I don't know if this is just semantics. I'd be really curious to hear what folks in the comments think about this, or if we can get a more informed take in the comments, I'll pin it to the video or something. But it does seem really interesting that the word playtext is being removed, and maybe if it really is true that this kind of brings Deadlock's kind of standards up to that of Dota and CS2 in terms of performance. That is really interesting to me, especially in conjunction with some of the leaks that we're going to talk about. This feels like a really important change. But again, if you know more about this, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to kind of pin a more informed take on this. Next, I want to talk about two different leaks that I would still classify in like the rumor stage. Again, I really hesitate to report on things like this when we don't have defined in-game screenshots or really more evidence than this, but these are two things that would make sense, also in conjunction with what we just talked about. A lot of it is just interesting timing-wise, so I wanted to go ahead and bring it up. But the first idea here is about a neutral objective that is coming to the game called Replicator. Maybe this is similar to like a Rejuvenator or a Tormentor from Dota 2 is what some folks have been talking about in the community, like Minesweeper, Deadlock UA. Again, this feels even a little bit thin to talk about, but we had talked a long time ago on the channel, I think it was probably back in like August or October or something, about a neutral objective that was being worked on called Vanguard. There was supposedly like a neutral objective somewhere in the middle of the map that was kind of like a King of the Hill style like summoning circle, if I remember correctly. And the game, I think from a player's perspective, another objective in the map really does make sense. Earn is good and interesting, at least forces fights. The neutral camps are great. Mid-boss, obviously a really pivotal part of the game, but I think Deadlock could definitely use one more objective. And so whether that's this replicator idea or something, we really don't know much about that, but I think it does at least signal to players that this is probably something on devs' radar. I don't think this was just fabricated out of thin air, at least I wouldn't think so. And so I would suspect that in sometime in the next patch or two, whenever we get that from Deadlock, obviously, there will be some kind of neutral objective, or at least the concept of one getting tested in the test server right now, which is what I would guess. And I want to mention quickly before moving on that a lot of these leaks seem to come originally from someone who's calling themselves Ghostwriter, who Minesweeper at least refers to them as. I don't know who this person is, so it's really hard to kind of claim with any certainty that these things are officially being worked on. Like, these aren't necessarily leaks. I would still really classify these as rumors so far. It just felt interesting to talk about them, especially framed next to the API changes that we talked about earlier. So I'll get into this though, and this is a big claim. It's that cosmetics are essentially already in the pipeline being worked on by devs, which is a crazy claim if that's true. So skins already exist for Wraith, Dynamo, Grey Talon, Holiday, Vindicta, Kelvin, Ivy, Apollo, Graves, and Victor. It's a lot of heroes, a lot of specific heroes as well, which is interesting. There are parts of skins and effects that you can mix and match, kind of like in Dota 2. Also, sprays for each hero supposedly being worked on. A couple of specific ones mentioned here, like a Dynamo spray with a blackboard and a Holiday spray with a pipe smoker on it. Again, even though, and then Minesweeper also kind of noted here that there would probably be a wardrobe section in the hideout where you go to equip these. That also does make sense. And that's what's interesting about this leak and why I want to talk about it, rumor, whatever you want to call it, is it really does feel like it makes sense in light of the past several months in Deadlock. So think back, I mean, the last 6 months or so, we've had 12 new heroes added. We've had a massive gameplay update, obviously new game mode, all this other stuff coming to the game as well. So it feels like we're probably not going to get a ton more heroes before the game's release. We've gotten a lot of the balancing that I think needed to happen. So now there's just tweaks from there. Some other heroes probably still need to get buffed. I've talked about that in kind of my recent remodel video. So hero remodels are one thing. Jungle Camp, probably another thing. Cosmetics, probably another thing. All of these things kind of meld together when you think about what Deadlock fans should expect for the game's open beta or an official release or whatever that might be. And so even if we don't have an exact timeline for those things yet, it really does feel like these are a lot of the components we would be talking about. So it's interesting that we're now starting to talk about them with some leaks. So this is just one of those things, again, when you put it all together, it feels really interesting to me. I don't want to necessarily always be claiming that open beta is right around the corner here on the channel. I really don't want that to be like a hallmark of how we report on news. It doesn't necessarily matter if it is or not, like if the open beta is coming up or not. What does matter, though, is these things potentially being worked on, because it does help us to at least answer the question of what could be next for the game, which is so much of what we're always trying to figure out here. So, in any case, I'd be curious to hear what you all think about these. There's a lot of really interesting stuff here between what's confirmed, non-confirmed. We also got some really small thing. We got some new Apollo animations. Always got to bring up the Apollo news when I can. But in any case, let me know what you all think about this in the comments. Is this stuff legit, do you think? Is it not? Is it out of turn? I mean, are we just, am I just the boy who cried wolf with the game's open beta? Let me know in the comments. But in any case, thank you all so much for tuning in. From our house to yours, we'll see you all next time here at Dead Unlocked.